My name is Gregg Servheen. I was a wildlife biologist who worked on the Selkirk caribou. I began in 1983, was not long to the state of Idaho. When as a temporary technician, I was assigned to the Caribou Project. Didn't even know we had caribou in Idaho or the lower 48 states. So I was extremely excited and started in 1983 with my end of the work on caribou in 1989. So for the most part, when I first started, my job was to assist the project leader, Mike Scott, in collecting radio locations and data and information on, what is it about caribou biology that we need to know for management purposes. So the mortality of those animals, where they ranged, what kind of habitats they used. All those were important to us and to Mike's project. And so I began collecting data in coordination with Mike, and we collected a lot of information on habitat and delineated 6 different seasonal habitats and got that published and delineated that, and that was important to both sides of the land managers in terms of knowing what to do for caribou habitat management. And then when Mike eventually went on, was reassigned to another project elsewhere in the state of Idaho, then I became the project leader on the Caribou Project and was fortunate enough to continue on in our telemetry work, as well as then implement the caribou transplant in hopes of trying to supplement the herd, increase productivity, and try to get them back on their feet. The feeling being that we had maybe 32 animals with maybe a total effective population of maybe 5, if you count 2 or 3 calves born each year and maybe 1 bull doing that breeding. You might have 5 animals in the effective breeding population. So we hoped our transplants would give us not only just more numbers, period, but we'd get a boost in productivity and get those caribou back up on their feet. So that's kind of my history and acquaintance with the Caribou Project, from being assigned as a temporary to then taking over as project leader and helping implement their caribou transplants. And then, so it was my good fortune to basically spend a lot of time, 6 years of my career, chasing caribou around in the field. And as a young formative biologist, there was nothing that was could have been better for me. It was fantastic. Just finding animals in the field, observing them, seeing what they were doing, collecting that data and information, and then turning it into something that was real, that told us something about caribou, was a pleasure for me.
So how would you physically locate these caribou?
So in collecting radio telemetry information on the caribou, this is back in my era of 83 or so. This was still when it was radio telemetry, not satellite collars like we have today. So we had about 5 or 6 collars on the herd animals, and the way we do it is, first, we couldn't just go out there and try to find them. It's extremely rugged country and difficult to navigate under the best of circumstances. So we do an aerial flight with telemetry information and collect the locations on those animals in a flight, and find out where they were or where they would be approximately, when then the next day you go out and determine which one was coming up on the cycle that we need to track and find. And so in that sense, then we'd use those radio telemetry locations collected from a flight, and then drive into, at the time I was stationed mostly in British Columbia, then drive up into the Stagleap Pass area and stuff. In summer, fall, and spring, that would just be truck and then hike in from there. But in early winter, oftentimes that turned into, you take a truck as far as it'll go, then take a snow machine as far as it'll go, then take your snow shoes as far as they go, and usually that was as far as you went too. And so then you were done. But that was oftentimes logistically complex, and it was remarkable how much time you spent fussing around with snowmobiles and vehicles so that everything ran and ran well. Had to be used, especially in winter, we had to do it at least in pairs, 2 of us together, so that we have a backup. but through the years got so that we could get pretty good at finding them, not without many frustrations about tracking them up onto the wrong ridge or completely different drainage from where they were last located. But yes, it was very logistically complicated and difficult to track them down on the ground.